Okay friends, just another video. I wasn't going to do another one, but I woke up this morning and saw that Adam Green did a stream, on Christmas Day about how Jesus was just a fiction, just to rub it in. And, I had to respond because Adam's wrong on just quite a few levels. He has it in for these people a little bit that are calling themselves Jews, but what he has to realise straight off the bat is that these people, mainly of Russian descent, Eastern European descent mainly, but there are others, these are not the people that he claims to have wrote these stories anyway. You see, they were different people back then. He claims the Abrahamic religions are false. Well, if you go back to Abraham anyway, in particular, Abraham was Aryan, aka white, and the offspring and the generations after Abraham came from him, and so were also white, right? So, because he's got this little bit of a paranoid fear of these people calling themselves Jews and how they lie and so forth, he's just basically conflating the people that so-called wrote these stories back in the day there as the same type of people that are calling themselves Jews today. So he's wrong straight up there, and he thinks that they wrote these stories about Jesus when Jesus actually existed from around about that time, because they would have had to have written them then and not posthumously, because his story is that they use these fictional stories to deceive the Romans and deceive Europe, around about 2,000 years ago there, which kind of led to, the Catholic Church and Christian Europe. So one thing that Adam doesn't realise is that there's Roman history and records of certain figures, such as governmental figures and Caesars and procurators of Rome, such as Pontius Pilate, who was the procurator there in Judea at the time of Jesus and was in the Bible even. He famously held a trial where Jesus told him that my kingdom is not of this world, which Adam also gets wrong, thinking that Jesus was talking about some ethereal celestial world made up by Talmudic rabbis or something. No, the word there in the Greek is cosmos, or translated system of government. So when Pontius Pilate was trialing Jesus, Jesus said to him, my kingdom is not of your system. You don't have jurisdiction over me, because I'm a king of my kingdom, the king of Judea, and you're a representative of the kingdom of Rome. So you don't have jurisdiction over me. And Pontius Pilate washed his hands of the trial because he realised he was out of his jurisdiction. And that's what that was all about. Not that Jesus was part of some mystical world like, Adam thinks that these rabbis are saying today, possibly, that he believes and he's parroting. So that's just a bit of a side note. But, the point being is that Pontius Pilate was a government figure, and Rome was very meticulous in its records. Okay, there are coins that Pontius Pilate minted that are still in existence today. Archaeological finds have discovered these. There are, plaques still in Caesarea, there in Palestine, with Roman inscriptions on them naming Pontius Pilate there. You see, and in the Roman record, possibly, who knows, under the Vatican or whatever, that even probably exists today, but just, 50, 60, 100 years after Christ walked the earth, these Roman records still existed that, recorded the acts of Pontius Pilate and his decrees and so forth and so on. You see, so if these ragtag Jews went into Europe and pretended to tell this story, they would have just had to open their books and say, oh no, hang on a minute, Pontius Pilate here recorded that these things occurred on these particular dates, and the story would have been extinguished almost immediately. And that's only 50, 70, 100 years after Paul started going out there, and even by the time of Constantine, these records still existed and would have been able to be referred to. So no one was pulling anyone's leg about some fictional story walking into Europe. I mean, the records possibly still exist today. Just because Adam Green can't Google them and see, what's what, it doesn't mean these records don't exist even to this day. But they sure as, heck did at that time, where Adam believes these Jews walked into Europe with this fairy tale, like would have had to have happened at the time that it actually did happen, like that Jesus actually did walk the earth. Like that's the time Adam reckons the story was promulgated, not posthumously, like these rabbis are doing with their fake story of Jesus, given all these hundreds of years to make it all up. So how did these Jews, these ragtag mob of Jews, fool the Romans and fool Europe when the records of Pontius Pilate showed that Jesus existed? They would have just said, Pontius Pilate never did anything. But no, they would have looked the real, Pontius Pilate crucified Jesus. Yep, okay, yep, all right, fair enough. We can't say it's a fairy tale. You see what I'm saying? So, it's a weird situation because Adam sort of, he's kind of running. It's like he's took the rabbis' stories and swallowed them hook, line, and sinker, and he's buzzing the reel, just going 100 miles an hour off into the wrong direction. That's what's happening. It's almost like, it's almost like saying, 9/11 never happened, because, he's reading the newspapers and saying, because, there were no such Muslim terrorists on the plane, and the passport they found on the ground isn't real, so it never happened. No, maybe the story that they're telling you never happened, but doesn't mean the event never happened. So Adam's once again attacking a straw man. He's attacking the straw man that the rabbis have constructed to obfuscate the truth, because the truth exposes the false religion of these Jews, the Judaism of these Jews. And not only, would Pontius Pilate and the officials and the Roman government and by extension the people know that Jesus never existed by the record, if he didn't. But they knew that he did because the record showed it. Very meticulous, the Romans, like that. Building roads that have lasted 2,000 years. They're not stupid people, right? That Adam is assuming they are by believing fairy tales. Not only that, but the Israelites before Christ, that were actually from Abraham, who was an Aryan. Okay, where do you think these people went? They went into Europe. Okay, hundreds and hundreds of years before, and they interbred and mixed with the European population there. And there's evidence of the Israelite influence in Europe, and names of places and so forth. And why do you think that Europe and the peoples of Europe were so susceptible to the message and the story and the history of Jesus and so forth? Because they went to the lost sheep of that Jesus came to, redeem. That these were Israelites in their history. And by the way, these Europeans, they at least knew of the history of the Israelites. If these ragtag Jews with their fairy tales went into Europe with this story of Jesus, like Adam is saying, that they only got the New Testament from the Old Testament, and they've got this circular reasoning going on and blah blah blah. If they tried to present this story to Europe would have said, you're just a pack of lying Jews. You're just lifting the scriptures out of the Old Testament here that we have access to because it's been around a long time. You're just trying to trick us using the Old Testament scriptures because this story's not true. They're not stupid people. But no, that's what Adam says. But no, what happened was that the actual fact happened that Jesus did walk the earth and teach the way to freedom and liberty, that these people followed, and it produced the fruit that he said it would, which is liberty and freedom. And it kind of went viral. These people were seeing the real fruit from the tree, and that's why the message was spreading, because people were seeing results, and it outlived the fall of the Roman Empire. You see, Adam just looks at what goes on today with Christian Zionism and the fruit of that, this worship of this state of Israel and so forth, and said, that's because of Jesus. No, that's because of the straw man that the rabbis have fabricated in these, expressions, false expressions of Christianity, such as, a lot of these denominations, and even, possibly even they're from the Catholic time of the Catholic Church. He's looking at the fruit of those deceptions, not the fruit of the actual fact that actually produced all this freedom and set Europe free. You see. So, why do you think these Europeans are so, they're naming their, Europe's a Christian success story because it's probably an Israelite success story, because Israelites were Aryan from Abraham. You see, they're not like these, Jews that are running around today. They're not like they're not the Israelites. They're probably the Edomites. They're probably exactly the opposite of what they're saying. They're saying that Europeans are the Edomites. So why don't you take a hint? If they're lying about everything else, why wouldn't they be lying about that? So, Adam, slow down, take stock, don't believe the rabbis. Everyone can be wrong. I don't blame you. There's a lot of deception, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The solution to your problems and mine are in the New Testament of the Bible. And Jesus, who was of the seed of Abraham, an Aryan. So don't believe these rabbis. My happiest day is when they're bowing down to a Jew, like they were like Jesus was someone like him. No, don't believe that. You see, Jesus was showing the way to liberty, and to understand what I mean, go to Preparing You, read the books there, and you'll see exactly how Jesus Christ shows the way to liberty under God. And yes, Adam, miracles do exist. All right. The manipulation of time and space occurs supernaturally. If anyone's ever had a syncretistic moment where it was a meant to be moment, or what are the odds, and it was too much of a coincidence, and that's a miracle. And if a small miracle can happen, a big miracle can happen. And if these Israelites had visions and prophecies and could see certain things in the future, and then they happen, that's possible. It's not an impossibility. So, because if space and time can be manipulated, well, that's not impossible. And we know that space and time can be manipulated by a force that's mainly unknown to us, called God, let's say, that created the universe here. So that just wipes out all of that stuff. It is possible that there are prophecies. So that's a side note. But go to Preparing You, see what I'm saying, see how Jesus was real, because the fruit on the tree proves that Jesus was real. The logic of what he was saying is prima facie evidence. The system of government that produces freedom and liberty, that was experienced by people in Europe at times in the past, was real. And Pontius Pilate was real. And Jesus was real. Jesus existed. In fact, just while I'm about to say goodbye, Adam and I had an exchange on Twitter, on X, where Adam's pulled up this chat GPT reasons why Jesus never existed. Like, you're going to go and consult the electronic Jew that lies about other historical events, yeah, to prove that Jesus never existed. Come on, man. Right? So, anyway, you get what I'm saying. Go to Preparing You, check out the books there. You too, Adam. That's right, I was saying that, that's right. Sorry, I lost my track there for a second, but yeah, Adam Green was saying ChatGPT, he says that Jesus never existed. And so I said, something, and then he responded like, he said, was Jesus born under a star by a virgin? I said, look, there's lots of metaphors in the Bible, but the point is that most scholars agree, in fact, all the best ones agree, and I don't really want to appeal to authority here, but he was appealing to authority. So I said to him, most scholars agree that Jesus actually did exist. as a matter of fact. And he can't, and he hasn't got back to me about that yet. Because I said, "Will you concede that?" And he hasn't got back to me. So, you know, Adam's smarter than all these scholars. Adam's smarter than all these kings and queens and great men of Europe who were Christians, and all, you know, all of Europe who constructed these magnificent, you know, edifices and cathedrals. Adam's smarter than all them, because Adam's listening to the rabbis tell him what happened, and he's parroting what the rabbis are saying. So Adam, go to Preparing You yourself. Read the books there and try to debunk those. And who knows what will happen in the future if there's some sort of a discussion or a debate about those. So I challenge you, read those books there. They don't take long, and slow down until you do, because you might have to backtrack and, you know, eat a bit of crow otherwise. Not that you won't have to already. Anyway, go to Preparing You, read the books there, and until next time, peace.